There are symbols that whisper, and there are symbols that scream. The pentagram does both. For centuries it has been carved into stone, drawn in blood, worn as protection, and feared as damnation. It adorns ancient temples and modern album covers. It guards the innocent and marks the forbidden. Some see it and feel divine harmony. Others see it and cross themselves in terror. But here's the truth no one tells you. The pentagram was never born evil. It was born perfect. Long before it became the sigil of satanic panic, before it was painted on basement walls by confused teenagers, before Hollywood turned it into a prop for horror films, the pentagram was something else entirely. It was the signature of the gods, the mathematics of the cosmos, the hidden blueprint of the human soul. So what happened? How did a symbol of divine order become the mark of the devil? The answer isn't what you think, because to understand the pentagram you can't start in the shadows. You have to start where it was born, in the hands of the gods themselves, under skies that still remembered magic. This is the story of the most misunderstood symbol in history, and by the end you'll never see it the same way again. If you're ready to awaken the meaning behind the myths, subscribe. This is Beyond Mythology. Let's go back, way back, before Christianity, before Rome, before even the Greeks walked the earth with their philosophers and their marble gods. We're talking about Sumer, Babylon, the cradle of civilization itself. On clay tablets over 4,000 years old, archaeologists found it, etched into cuneiform, surrounded by prayers and protective spells, the pentagram. But here, it wasn't a symbol of rebellion or darkness. It was cosmic order made visible. The Sumerians saw the universe as a structure, 4 corners of the world, north, south, east, west, and above it all, the heavens, 5 points, 5 directions. The pentagram was their way of saying, this is how reality is built, and they weren't alone. In ancient Egypt, the 5-pointed star appeared in connection with the goddess Isis, and later with Hathor, the divine feminine, the mother of love, fertility, and cosmic balance. When the Egyptians looked at the stars, they saw Venus tracing patterns in the sky, and they knew the goddess was writing her name in light. That pattern, that celestial signature, was a pentagram. Then came the Greeks, and this is where things get beautiful. Pythagoras, the philosopher who believed that numbers were the language of God, became obsessed with the pentagram. For him, it wasn't just geometry, it was sacred geometry. He discovered that within the pentagram, you find the golden ratio, phi, over and over again. Every line, every intersection, a perfect echo of divine proportion. The Pythagoreans used it as their secret symbol, their mark of initiation. To them, the pentagram was proof that the universe wasn't random chaos. It was designed, it was harmony incarnate. And they passed it down through mystery schools, through Orphic rites, through whispered teachings that only the initiated could hear. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Thousands of miles away in the misty forests of Celtic Europe, the pentagram appeared again. The Druids connected it to the goddess Morrigan, to the wheel of the year, to the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. 5 seasons, 5 sacred points, 5 passages of the soul. For the Celts, the pentagram wasn't static. It was moving, alive, turning like the year itself. Do you see the pattern? Sumer, Egypt, Greece, the Celts. Cultures separated by oceans and centuries, yet all of them independently arrived at the same symbol, not by coincidence, but because the pentagram is an archetype. It rises from the collective unconscious, like a dream that humanity keeps having over and over again. The pentagram was born in different worlds, but it always pointed to the same sky. Now let's talk about you. Because the pentagram isn't just about gods and stars, it's about the human being standing between them. In the Renaissance, when humanity dared to look at itself as more than just sinners waiting for salvation, an artist named Leonardo da Vinci drew something revolutionary. You've seen it, the Vitruvian Man. A human figure, arms and legs extended, inscribed in a circle and a square. But look closer. Trace the lines from head to hands to feet. What do you see? A pentagram. Leonardo knew what the ancients knew. The human body is a microcosm of the universe. We are walking, breathing reflections of cosmic order. 5 points, head, 2 arms, 2 legs, 5 senses, 5 fingers on each hand. The pentagram wasn't imposed on us. It was built into us, and it goes deeper. Each point of the pentagram represents one of the classical elements: earth at the base, the foundation, the body, the material world; water and air on the sides, the emotions and the mind, the flow and the breath; fire at the other side, passion, will, transformation; and at the very top, above them all, spirit, the divine spark, the part of us that is more than flesh. When the pentagram is upright, spirit presides over matter. The soul governs the body. This is balance. This is what the alchemists called the great work, the harmonization of all forces within the self. But there's another layer here, one that most people miss. Carl Jung, the psychologist who spent his life mapping the architecture of the soul, would have loved the pentagram, because if you look at it through his eyes, those 5 points aren't just elements, they're aspects of the psyche. The ego at the center holding everything together, the shadow below, the repressed, the dark, the parts we deny, anima and animus on the sides, the inner feminine and masculine, the soul's hidden faces. Persona at one point, the mask we show the world. And at the top, the self, the totality, the integrated whole, the God within. Jung believed that every symbol is a doorway into the unconscious, a way for the soul to speak in images when words fail. And the pentagram? It's one of the oldest doors we have. It's not just geometry. It's a map of interior wholeness. When the 5 points are in harmony, the human being is complete, balanced, awake. But what happens when the symbol is turned upside down? This is where the story gets twisted, literally. Most people today see an inverted pentagram and think one thing: evil, Satanism, black magic, the mark of the devil. And yes, that association exists, but it wasn't always there. In fact, for most of history, it wasn't there at all. Here's something that will surprise you. In medieval Europe, during the height of Christian devotion, the pentagram was carved into the stone walls of cathedrals, not as a curse, but as a blessing. It represented the 5 wounds of Christ: hands, feet, and side, the sacred marks of his sacrifice. The pentagram was holy. It was protection. It adorned stained glass windows, illuminated manuscripts, church doorways. The same symbol that once shone in the light of Gothic cathedrals would later be painted on the gates of hell. What changed? The 19th century happened, and with it, a French occultist named Eliphas Levi. Levi was obsessed with symbols, with hidden knowledge, with the idea that magic was real and accessible to those who understood its language. And in his writings, he did something that would reshape Western occultism forever. He drew the inverted pentagram and placed upon it the head of Baphomet, the goat-headed deity, horns rising where spirit once sat, the material made supreme. Levi didn't call it evil, he called it manifestation, the descent of spirit into matter, the divine becoming flesh. For him, the inversion wasn't corruption, it was incarnation, God choosing to enter the world, to be born, to take form. But the damage was done, the image stuck. And when Anton LaVey founded the Church of Satan in the 1960s, he adopted the inverted pentagram as his emblem. From that moment on, in the popular imagination, the symbol was damned. But here's the thing, symbols don't have morality, they have meaning. And meaning depends on who's holding them and why. The inverted pentagram can represent the fall of spirit into matter, or it can represent the grounding of divine energy into reality. It can be destruction or it can be creation. It all depends on intent, and this is the deeper lesson. Throughout history, symbols get hijacked. They're stolen, repurposed, weaponized. The pentagram went from cathedral to coven, from prayer to panic, not because it changed, but because we did. Because political power, religious control, and cultural fear needed an enemy, and the pentagram was convenient. The same symbol that blessed the churches of God became the seal of his shadow. But neither version is the whole truth, because the pentagram at its core is neither good nor evil. It's a mirror, and what you see in it is you. Let's step back from myth and metaphor for a moment. Let's talk about something undeniable, something that exists whether you believe in gods or not, whether you practice magic or dismiss it as nonsense. Let's talk about mathematics. Because the pentagram isn't just symbolic, it's structural. It's woven into the fabric of reality itself. Inside every pentagram, hidden within its angles and intersections, is a number, a ratio. Phi, 1.618, the golden mean, the divine proportion. And phi doesn't just appear in pentagrams, it appears everywhere. In the spiral of a nautilus shell, in the branching of trees, in the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, in the proportions of your own face, in the arms of galaxies spinning through the void. Phi is the mathematical signature of growth, of beauty, of organic perfection. The ancient Greeks knew this. That's why they built the Parthenon using phi. Why Leonardo painted the Last Supper with it. Why architects, artists, and mystics have returned to this ratio again and again. Because when you use it, things just feel right. They resonate. They hum with a harmony that the soul recognizes even if the mind can't explain it. But it gets better. Let's talk about Venus. You know Venus, the morning star, the evening star, the brightest light in the sky after the sun and moon. The ancients were obsessed with it. They tracked its movements, recorded its cycles, wove it into their myths. And here's what they discovered. Every 8 years, Venus traces a perfect pentagram in the sky. I'm not speaking metaphorically. If you plot the points where Venus reaches its maximum elongation from the Sun over an 8-year period, and you connect those points, you get a pentagram, a geometrically flawless 5-pointed star drawn across the heavens by the planet of love itself. The ancient Sumerians knew this, the Egyptians knew this, the Greeks knew this. That's why they connected Venus with Ishtar, with Aphrodite, with the divine feminine and the cycles of creation. Because Venus wasn't just wandering randomly through the cosmos, it was writing. And what it wrote was sacred geometry. Now, let me show you something even more intimate. Take an apple, any apple, slice it horizontally through the middle. Look at the seeds. They form a pentagram. The fruit that, in myth, granted knowledge to humanity, the fruit that opened the eyes of Adam and Eve, that carried the wisdom of the gods, literally contains the pentagram within it, hidden, waiting to be seen. Nature writes in pentagrams, always has. From the stars to the seeds, from the spirals of DNA to the proportions of your skeleton, the 5-pointed structure repeats, echoes, insists on being noticed. The pentagram isn't a human invention, it's a cosmic constant, a code embedded in the universe's operating system. And when the ancients drew it on their walls, in their temples, on their amulets, they weren't making it up. They were recognizing it. They were saying, "We see you, universe. We know your language." The pentagram is the secret alphabet of creation itself. But the pentagram didn't stay locked in ancient temples and forgotten stars. It didn't fade into history like so many other symbols, worn down by time until only scholars remember them. No. The pentagram survived, and more than that, it stayed alive. It didn't just remain in books or museums, it remained in practice, in ritual, in traditions that still carry its light. Today, if you walk into a Wiccan circle, you'll see the pentagram drawn on the altar, worn as a pendant, traced in the air with a ritual blade. For modern pagans, it represents the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and the unity of all things. It's a symbol of protection, of balance, of the old ways remembered and renewed. In the tarot, the pentagram appears in the suit of pentacles, representing the material world, abundance, manifestation. But it also echoes in the star card, the 17th arcana, which shows a figure pouring water beneath a sky of stars. Hope, guidance, the light that leads you home. The pentagram as celestial compass. And in the hidden halls of Freemasonry, the 5-pointed star still holds its place as a symbol of initiation, of the journey from darkness to light, from ignorance to illumination. It's not about devil worship or conspiracy. It's about awakening, about the transformation that happens when you pursue truth with an open heart. Across different paths, different practices, the pentagram endures. Not as superstition, not as decoration, but as a living reminder of something humanity once knew and is slowly remembering, that we are part of a larger pattern, that the sacred isn't somewhere else, it's here, in the geometry of the world, in the rhythm of the seasons, in the shape of our own souls. The pentagram never died because the knowledge it carries is too fundamental to forget. Even when buried, even when twisted, it finds a way back, because the truth, once glimpsed, doesn't disappear. It just waits for the right eyes to see it again. So what does all of this mean for you? Because that's the real question, isn't it? Why should you care about an ancient symbol, a five-pointed star, a geometric shape drawn by dead gods and distant planets? Here's why. The pentagram isn't just history. It's a path, a map, a way of understanding the journey every human being is called to make, the journey from fragmentation to wholeness. Each point of the pentagram represents a stage of initiation, a challenge, a lesson. At the base, you begin with Earth, the material world, the body. This is where most of us live, caught in survival, in desire, in the weight of flesh and circumstance. To master Earth is to learn discipline, to accept limitation, to work with matter instead of being enslaved by it. Then comes water, the realm of emotion, intuition, the unconscious tides that pull at you in the dark. To master water is to feel without drowning, to honor your depths without being lost in them. Next, air, the mind, logic, clarity, the part of you that seeks to understand, to name, to dissect. To master air is to think without rigidity, to question without losing faith. Then fire, the will, passion, the drive to create, to transform, to become. To master fire is to burn without consuming yourself, to channel your power toward purpose. And finally, at the top, spirit, the integration of all four, the transcendence that comes not from escaping the world, but from completing it, from bringing the divine down into the human and lifting the human up into the divine. This is the alchemical path, the great work, the hero's journey encoded in 5 simple points. And here's the secret the ancients understood. You can't skip steps. You can't leap straight to spirit without mastering the elements below, because spirit without grounding becomes delusion. Enlightenment without discipline becomes arrogance. The soul must descend before it can ascend. The pentagram is the roadmap of that descent and return. It's the labyrinth you walk, the fire you pass through, the mirror you finally look into and recognize yourself, not as broken, not as lost, but as whole. Every point is a teacher, every line a connection, every angle a choice. And when you stand at the center of your own pentagram, balanced, integrated, awake, you become what the ancients called the divinized human. Not a god, not a saint, just someone who finally stopped running from their own completeness. So here we are, at the end of the journey, or maybe just the beginning. We started in darkness, with a symbol cursed and misunderstood, and we walked it back, through Sumerian clay and Egyptian stars, through Greek philosophy and Celtic forests, through Renaissance art and Victorian occultism, through the cold mathematics of the cosmos and the warm pulse of the human heart. And what did we find? That the pentagram was never what they told you it was. It wasn't evil, it wasn't demonic, it wasn't the mark of the damned, it was a key, a map, a reminder carved into stone and sky and seed that said, you are not separate, you are part of the pattern, you are cosmos made conscious. The pentagram is the symbol of integration, of the marriage between matter and spirit, between earth and heaven, between who you are and who you're becoming. It's the promise that wholeness is possible, that balance can be found, that even in a world of chaos and noise and fear, there is still order, not imposed, not forced, but woven into the fabric of existence itself, waiting for you to see it. And here's the question that matters. Not what is the pentagram, But what is out of balance in your own life? Which point are you neglecting? Which element have you suppressed, denied, left in shadow? Is it earth, your body, your stability, your roots? Is it water, your emotions, your vulnerability, your flow? Is it air, your clarity, your voice, your truth? Is it fire, your passion, your will, your courage to act? Or is it spirit itself, the part of you that knows there's more to this existence than what you can touch and measure and control? The pentagram doesn't need to be drawn on the floor. It doesn't need to be carved into stone or hung around your neck. It needs to be awakened within you. Because the pentagram is one of the oldest doors humanity has ever found. A threshold between the known and the unknown, the visible and the invisible, the self you show the world and the self you've never dared to meet. And here's the truth that all the mystics, all the alchemists, all the ancient star watchers knew. The door only opens from the inside. So don't fear the symbol, don't run from it, and don't let anyone tell you it belongs to the darkness. The pentagram belongs to you, it always has. And when you finally understand what it means, when you trace its lines through your own life, your own soul, your own becoming, you'll remember something the modern world tried to make you forget. That the divine isn't somewhere above you, distant and untouchable. It's woven into your bones, written in your cells, shining in the same spiral that spins galaxies and grows flowers and draws 5 perfect points across the evening sky. The pentagram is the most ancient of doors, and it only opens for those willing to look within.